Tony Robbins really pushes the why. So for every goal you write, you want to put why, working out 3 days a week. Why is that important to you? Well, it gives you energy. It makes you feel good. It gives you confidence. And then everything really overlaps and overflows into other aspects of your life. And so even though it may seem to a specific category, it really does transcribe into all areas.
This is the Multifamily Journey Podcast, show 31.
You're listening to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. In this show, you'll hear industry experts share tips of success and failure from their real estate investing journeys. You'll get a transparent look behind the curtain while you learn to fulfill the lifestyle you want to live and achieve your wealth goals. Get ready for the journey to financial freedom through investing in multifamily real estate. Here's your host, Blake Dailey.
Hey, welcome back to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. This is your host here, Blake Dailey, and excited to bring another good episode. I hope everybody is having a good day today and that this show is just going to make it even better because the guest today, Savannah Arroyo, really brings it. She breaks down how she got started in multifamily, and it's really cool because she breaks down like the specifics of it, like how she actually got the ball rolling, paid for a coaching program, got that confidence and that experience through that program to be able to go out and just confidently put in her offers on her first deals. And through that whole process, learned a lot and finally got that first deal. And then like I know and we connected with was that first raise, right? It's a lot harder than you think. And that's why it's so important to have your personal brand established, because ultimately who you are and how you are is what's going to resonate with people and allow you to really grow and scale, especially if you're raising capital for your deals. And whether you're in single family and small multifamily or in large commercial multifamily, eventually you're going to reach that point in your business where you need private money to grow and scale, unless you want to just, do one at a time and take the proceeds and keep rolling, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to grow and scale, like I was saying, you need that private money, and that personal brand is so important. And she has this awesome brand that she's created for herself. She's a registered nurse. So her personal brand is the Net Worth Nurse. So love that name, how she got started with it and connects with her community of other investors and medical professionals. And that's allowed her to scale. So as you're listening to this, think about in your own life, what are those communities or groups that you connect with that you could, you don't have to be the mechanic millionaire or anything like that. Just made that up off the spot. I hope you liked it. But you don't have to be the mechanic millionaire to, start a brand. You can just be, use whatever it is, connect with those groups of people. Maybe it's just, hey, inviting other mechanics in your garage to talk about investing or something like that. I don't know. I mean, it's different for everybody, but find your groups and think about that as Savannah's talking. But before we get in the show, I wanted to say, go to multifamilyjourney.com and check out the free resources, things that she's talking about in this episode. Those actionable steps about getting started are in the free resources. I put those out there for you guys just literally for free. Don't have to pay anything for them at all. Just as a way add value to you guys to help you get the ball rolling. So there's one that's 12 steps to get started in multifamily, all the way from, getting educated to putting in your first offers and closing and managing the deal. And then for the passive investors out there, there's also a passive investor toolkit to learn that side of it. Maybe you're a busy professional or don't have the time to do all of the investing side and build the brand and network and do the education and pay for the coaching or whatever it is, and just want to get into real estate as a passive investor. So that toolkit is for you. So those are out there for free. Definitely check those out. And as always, if you guys like the show, please leave it a rating and review. It means so much to me. But no, seriously, guys, it does a big help for the podcast. And that's all I got today. So let's get into the show. All right, Savannah, welcome to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super stoked to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a good show. So why don't we just get started with how you got started in real estate? I know you got a separate career, so we can jump in on the real estate side.
Yes, I am from Sacramento, California. That's where I got my nursing degree. I went to Sacramento State University, got my degree in nursing up there, and worked in a couple of different hospitals and different specialties. Went back to school to get my master's in nursing and leadership and administration. And then I moved down to Los Angeles, California. And right now I'm overseeing multiple departments at a hospital here in LA. I got into real estate investing last year when I was on maternity leave with my second daughter. My husband and I were really just looking at different ways that we could start investing and making our money work for us. We were originally looking to upgrade our home here in LA. And after looking into real estate, we ended up pulling out equity from our home and using that to kind of build some wealth over the next few years and then upgrade a little bit later. And we got started in single family homes. We started investing in Georgia across the country, just lower price point to entry. And then shortly after we switched into multifamily. And right now we're doing value add multifamily syndications.
Oh, very nice. Are you guys a like husband and wife combo pair?
We sure are. Yes. We have split the business.
That's awesome. So just curious, how did you guys, separate that and go from that? Do you have like one side of the business and he has the other?
Yes. Well, so first getting into it together and getting on the same page was huge for us. And when we first discovered real estate and all the growth that we could create with it, we got really specific on our goals, just in our family goals, life goals together. And we got very specific about where we wanted to be in 5-10 years and kind of worked our way backwards of what we needed to be doing at 3 years and 1 year and on a monthly, weekly basis to get there. And so us getting on the same page with that was very, very huge. We needed to be working together towards those common goals. And honestly, it was really just to have time freedom and financial freedom. We have 2 young daughters at home, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. So we just wanted to put ourselves in a position where we weren't a slave to our jobs, that we could have some passive income moving forward and just kind of create that time freedom for ourselves. So getting on the first page was first. And then after we did our first multifamily syndication, we walked through every step of that process together. We went through every piece of the deal side by side, talking to lawyers, on the phone calls with the brokers together, doing the investor presentation side by side, just so we could really learn every aspect of the syndication business. And then after we did that first deal, we kind of split up the roles towards things we naturally gravitated towards. At my job in the hospital, I oversee operations. So I'm really good with kind of project management and that sort of stuff. So right now I'm overseeing investor relations and marketing for our business. And then my husband's a numbers guy. So he does acquisitions and asset management.
Yeah, that's really good. I like how you guys like sat down together and figured out kind of your goals and family goals and worked backwards from there. My wife and I did something similar on New Year's. We went out to dinner at a Mexican restaurant and just like wrote out our goals together for the year. And she's in the medical field too. She has her doctorate in physical therapy. But she's like, I didn't go to school for real estate, so I don't have real estate goals.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on my career. So I would love to have her in it because she has complementary skill sets to me, but trying to be respectful. She's like, trying to kill it in her career too. So supporting each other there. But that's awesome. You guys are in this together and went about it that way, like started with the end in mind and worked backwards, like you said, monthly and weekly. I think it'd be good. Like, what are you using to kind of track those goals and accountability on that to make sure you guys are, because it seems like, we'll get into it, but a lot of things are happening fast for you guys. So how have you just stayed accountable on those goals together?
Yeah, it's huge. Honestly, setting goals in every aspect of my life, I've been doing since I graduated high school and college. It was very big for me, kind of entering in that next stage of my life, and something my dad instilled in me. And I'm a Tony Robbins junkie. I use his goal setting formula and I've done it yearly for a very, very long time, but he breaks it down into different categories. So not just real estate in your business, but career, then you have financial, relationships, kind of your goals with different relationships in your life, family, spiritual, health, physical. So you kind of break it down into all these categories, because if you're living a balanced life, it really shouldn't be all career driven. Although a lot of the stuff we do on a daily basis is towards our career, but you got to have that balance with health and physical stuff. And then your family as well, even spiritual. We have very specific spiritual goals that we plan to make sure we're taking time and addressing just for our overall well-being. But getting specific on that, Tony Robbins really pushes the why. So for every goal you write, you want to put why, working out 3 days a week. Why is that important to you? Well, it gives you energy. It makes you feel good. It gives you confidence. And then everything really overlaps and overflows into other aspects of your life. And so even though it may seem to a specific category, it really does transcribe into all areas.
Yeah, that's so good. I think just the whole piece about having that balanced life. I don't know if you read the book Vivid Vision by Cameron Harold, but So I've written out my vivid vision. It's actually on the wall right here. It looks like a magazine article written like in the future. And in that, I talked about just what you're saying, like goals in every area of my life. So like relationships, my wife and I, friendships, wellness, like health and wellness on top of the financial piece. And like the big time guys that like I subscribe to and I follow their stuff is people like David Osborne or like Cameron Harold or Tony Robbins that are like super successful people in their own realms, real estate, entrepreneurship, whatever it is. I mean, they all own businesses at this point too, but they're all like big proponents of that, like that. The whole area of life, like family is very important to all those guys. So that's what I try to focus on too. And like, not just get sucked into, getting the most units or like the most, just digging it on the business side. So that's really good. And it sounds like you and your husband did that together. So that's even better. Online, you're known as the net worth nurse. And I think that's an awesome name. So how did that come about?
Thank you. So actually, after we did our first multifamily syndication, my husband and I were really looking out to kind of leverage other people's capital raising skills and kind of working, potentially joint venturing with other capital raisers, just so that we wouldn't have to launch a brand, do all the marketing. There's so much work that goes into marketing.
Yeah, the capital raising is like its own business. Like you have the acquisitions and the capital.
It is no joke.
Yeah.
So, but you need the capital to do the deals, right? And there's really good capital raisers out there. So we were like, okay, maybe we'll kind of partner with people to do it. We didn't want to be the face of the business and we were kind of resisting that route. But then as we started having those conversations with people and just the fact that we're going to be doing deals moving forward indefinitely, we were like, we have to have some sort of brand for ourselves. We have to have something to fall back on for people to like either know us by, or it just goes. I recently read Gary V's Crushing It, which I know is kind of an older book, but I don't know why no one's recommended it to me. It blew my mind.
Super good book. It's up here somewhere on the shelf.
Oh my gosh, just about like building a personal brand and how it's so important in literally every business. And so anyways, we realized we needed to build a personal brand, and my husband actually came up with the net worth nurse. That was his finding. But so just launched it, pushed it. And really the motivation behind that was trying to connect with other medical professionals. After we did those first few deals and I started talking to my coworkers about what I'm doing in real estate, they're so fascinated by it. They have so many follow-up questions. It's something that they, especially syndications, could easily get into because they're very willing to hand over their money passively to a good vetted out operator who has a good track record. They're willing to do that to receive some of the benefits of real estate. So it's a very mutually beneficial relationship. And I've seen my ability to leverage kind of those relationships while growing our business. And it's just been so awesome. And it's given me so much more pleasure than I ever thought, because I get to connect with all these people now and build all these relationships. And I didn't really realize like how fulfilling that is to me. And I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome too. You're like in one of those careers where people are, one, like earning good W-2 income, and then two, are just super busy. So they're making a bunch of money and then don't, they just work all the time because they have a, demanding job. They're helping others, like, something kind of bigger than themselves almost in that field. So that's really cool. And one thing I've always told people is if like everybody has those communities. So for me, it could be, Air Force people. For you, it's nurses. So can you just speak to the importance of like how you're able to resonate with those people? Because I think everybody out there, like listening to this show, like you have that group, whatever it is, and, just drilling in and focusing on like how you resonate with that group could just do a lot of good for you. And now you've built this whole brand around it. So you're the perfect person to ask this question.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of it kind of falls back on a Gary V's book and a lot of stuff he points out in that. But for specifically, because I launched the brand before I even read that book, was to get people to join in your deals and hand over a large amount of capital to you. You need to develop that trust. And to develop that trust, you really got to be genuine and transparent in everything that you're doing and providing the education and the resources for these people who don't necessarily know a lot about real estate. And for me, it was kind of content creation, which is very time consuming in the business. A lot of my time and energy is focused on content creation right now. And that's kind of just to inform people, and especially our investors who want to do deals with us, and doing it in a very genuine, personalized way. And the more Like when I first got into the field, I'm like, there's too many people out there capital raising. Why would they want to invest their money with me over someone else? But it's the same money I would want it, or the same reason I would want to invest my money with someone as opposed to someone else. It's like different personalities appeal to different people. Naturally, different people gravitate towards different personalities, different sets of entrepreneurs. And just being genuine in the content production process has been so huge for me in launching that brand. And then it's like, it doesn't feel fake or salesy or pushy because it's just me coming across and sharing with people what I'm doing and how they could join in and receive some of these amazing benefits with real estate.
Yeah, that's so good. I truthfully try to do the same thing. And like, it's hard sometimes because that content creation part is so time consuming. But I feel like the world and especially like the capital raising world and business and everything is like, just people are so loud. Like there's so much noise out there, like for the potential investors and the people that you're trying to appeal to, like 60 other brands are just, yelling things in their face. Hey, buy this, give me your money. So it's like, how do you come at them or not even come at them, just like project out there in a genuine fashion and just be you and just, emit value. So that's really cool. And what I've seen from your brand and like the content you put out, it's very much that way. And that's the way I do it. Like with my videos and stuff for like the rehabs I'm doing, like I'll talk about the mistakes. Like we just, for the, we're back like 10 or 12 days now. And that's the stuff I talk about and like why, because that's what it could actually, make or break you tens of thousands. Like if we end up going over budget on that, like every week, if it's going to be high season when this thing comes out, and it's going to be 8 short-term rentals. So it's like thousands of dollars per week if we end up busting the overall budget. So that's what I want to stop or help people get to eventually is like, make those $1,000 decisions or whatever. So that's really good. The value side of the business. So that's really good. And I guess getting started, you were talking about before we started recording here that what helped you to kind of jump into this feet first was the coaching program. Can you speak to like why that did or didn't, like kind of your experience with coaching programs and then how that, got the ball rolling for you?
Yeah, definitely. So we first started investing in single family homes, and that was something we had experience with because we own our primary residence. And that was a pretty straightforward process, working with a bank to get approved, getting the loan, and then purchasing the house. That was pretty straightforward. But when we decided that we wanted to get into multifamily, to build a business, to start scaling, and just started researching about how different multifamily deals are than single family deals, and especially going down the syndication route of raising money, now using other people's money to do these deals. It was a lot bigger than just us. So we wanted to make sure that we were dotting our I's, crossing our T's, doing everything in our power to make sure we were doing this with the least amount of risk as possible, which is doable in real estate. It's not any riskier than other investments out there, honestly, if you do your homework, do your due diligence. And for us, that was huge. So joining a coaching program was something we did early on in the process. And really, for my husband, doing the underwriting, having that extra set of eyes over his shoulders, making sure all the underwriting was sound, that we were considering all different factors that went into the numbers. That was huge for us. And then being able to do the legal side of things and kind of having some direction of like making sure we have ourselves completely covered, not making any big mistakes, because in the business with real estate, depending how big your deal is, it's pretty easy to make a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 mistake. Yeah. So if you're taking that money, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, which is kind of what most coaching programs are, and now you're investing in a coaching program to potentially eliminate the mistake, that was what we decided to do. That money was a very, good investment in terms of how we were able to take down these deals. And it gave us the confidence to take that first step. I don't know if we would have ever submitted that first LOI without having that coaching program of being like, this is a good deal, go ahead, move forward.
Yeah, that's huge. It kind of just gives you like the confidence. Because I remember like early on when I started putting in offers, to be honest, I was like, if this gets accepted, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, it's going to be in scramble mode. Yeah. And I'm going to be like rushing to like figure everything else out. So like, how did that just build up your confidence in having them there?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, really everything's based on your underwriting, your due diligence, your market research. So just having someone that you can popcorn questions off of, like, what am I missing? Like, what are the worst case scenarios that could happen with this project? And having a coach with 20 plus years experience, looking at your deal, looking at the deal package, all the numbers and saying like, okay, well, like this is what you need to call the tax assessor's office and verify that number that you put in, because that can be widely different in markets.
And that's a good point too. Cause like I see this in like broker pro formas all the time, is like the tax expense doesn't change on like year 1 to, or like year 0 to year 1. It's like, no, you're buying it at a higher value. So the assessed value is what the tax is based on. It's going to go up. If they bought it, if the current sellers bought it, 10 years ago, that they probably bought it at like half the price. So your tax is like double.
Yes, definitely. Just like literally any question that comes up, like our lawyer would be asking for this documentation and we'd be like, kind of like, okay, what exactly are they asking for? And we'd ask our coach like, hey, our lawyer's asking for this, like, what is this and where do we get it? And then it would give us, not that we'd be looking dumb, but it would give us the confidence of like, okay, we know what we're doing. Like we have this support with us getting this deal done. And I mean, so honestly, I didn't vet out a lot of coaching programs before I joined one. There's a lot of people doing it. I would definitely do your research on what each program has to offer. And now being in the business and joining a lot of different masterminds and meetup groups, there's a lot of people out there, operators that would be willing to let you kind of shadow them and mentor with them and provide you the tips without investing $30,000, $40,000 into one of these coaching programs. You could easily link up with someone who you kind of vibe well with, who would be willing to kind of share their secrets with you. And I see it all the time in the real estate communities. There's so many amazing people out there that are just wanting to level up and support other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you kind of hit both sides of this. Like there's a lot of experts out there that will sell their time, but their business is focused around bringing in students or whatever revenue from teaching people and being the guide. But then there's also a lot of people out there who just will generally help. And especially if you're able to like bring some kind of value, or if you have done your research up front, so you know the right kind of questions to ask, maybe looking for a format. But if you're like, hey, how do I get started in multifamily, maybe that's where you need to pay some money. And I've seen some that are like crazy expensive, like 50 grand. I've seen one that's $100,000. It's like, dude, you could literally, get into a multifamily deal for $100,000 and just learn by bringing capital rather than paying for this. And now you're out your capital. But yeah, I mean, for you, was that a big hurdle to get over that expense? Because to be honest, for me, that was in the very beginning. Because like, man, I don't have 20 grand. This was when I was still like wholesaling to get up, to build the cash to do like single family and small multifamily burrs. So I think for a lot of people that initial expense is might scare them off, but to a point, like it's worth it too, right? If you get the right program.
It's for us, it's always like looking at our end goals and what it takes to get there and knowing like, okay, this is what we're going to have to do, and trust that the process is going to work out. I mean, we do that when any problem sort of comes up in our deals. I mean, I'm probably a little bit more stressful than my husband, but like, if something comes up and then it kind of becomes stress inducing and you're worried about it, but then it's like, okay, well, this is how you grow. Like, this is what separates the entrepreneurs from the rest, because we're going to pursue through this, find different ways to get it done, and just stop making excuses and pushing through. No, like for us, we knew that coaching program was going to put us in it was going to propel our real estate journey very much. And so for us, it was like, okay, we don't have the cash right now, but like, let's throw it on a credit card. Like, this is what we need to do to start doing these.
Yeah. Sometimes that's just exactly what you need, right? Like it's you putting your skin in the game to say, all right, I burned the bridges. I'm all in. Here's my 20 grand that's on a credit card. Like, this has to work, or I look like the dummy.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that's really good. So let's talk about how you got into syndication then. So, I mean, it was the coaching program, and now we'll get into the actual deal. So what did you and your husband's first deal look like?
Yes, it was a 12 unit up in Oregon. It wasn't a market that we were initially investing in. We were looking at Atlanta, Georgia, Reno, New Mexico. We were looking in Oregon really out of curiosity. My parents lived there. We were still early in the phase of like running numbers, practicing running numbers, looking at deals to compare different markets and just different deals out there and what different ones have to offer. Especially when you get started, it's good to just like keep running numbers after numbers after numbers just to have things to compare it to. And when we were looking up in Oregon, we created a relationship with a broker. He sent us this deal and we we're like, oh, this is actually a good deal. And then as we started looking through it and just kind of the Oregon market more, it's a very strong rental market. The taxes are super low. The property management fees are like 6%, which is pretty low on a 12-unit building compared to other markets across the country. So there was just like a lot of different advantages to investing in that specific market, and the numbers worked, and we moved forward with it.
That's awesome. So I want to ask you this. So you guys started with single family, right?
Yeah.
So you had single family rentals. To go to that 12 unit, did it seem like completely daunting? Was it like a whole new thing? Where you're like, or were you like, all right, it's 1 to 12. We can do this.
Both, I guess, like 1 to 12 and okay, it's real estate. So in a way, the transaction is very similar because it's real estate. There's a lot more.
Then you also bring in raising money and everything else into it.
That's the biggest difference. That's the difference. I mean, in terms of like, running the numbers, making sure it's cash flowing, kind of what returns, doing the Excel spreadsheet of like kind of seeing your projected investment returns with this specific investment. That's pretty similar. When you start raising the money and now you're bringing in other people's money, that's where the huge difference is, and just like the legalities of it and your responsibility as an operator for this deal and for your investors and all that stuff was probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, that's a good point. So on this 12 unit, the broker brought it to you. You found it on the market as a broker listing. So I want to talk about how you funded it. I know you syndicated it, but can you talk about that first raise? Just going through it myself a couple months ago, I know that first one is, breaking through barriers.
Yeah, I'm going through one right now. So I'm like still a little, it's hard. So it's just very time consuming. So for that first deal, after we had bought those single family homes and we were telling friends and family what we were doing, we gained interest in that. And that was kind of one of the reasons we were thinking like, oh, we could syndicate, like we can offer this investment opportunity to other people. And so we had friends and family interested. We started kind of explaining the deal, what we liked into it. It was a lot of hand holding because we were working with friends and family who weren't super real estate savvy and didn't really understand all the terms and like what it meant for them as a passive investor in the deal. Like
so they're basically just going off the trust of you.
Exactly. That was 100% it. And I mean, even moving forward and raising money, I'm learning that trust aspect is so huge.
I think that's the most important thing too. Now, like having done like several deals, several different type of deals myself, and like it goes to that content piece, right? Like putting it out there, talking about what you're doing. Like several people have just said, hey, if you get a deal, like I trust you, I see what you're doing. So just let me know when you get a deal now. But it's like to start that, it takes time and like, it's fostering relationships really.
Totally. And our friends and family knew this was our first deal. So they're like, okay,
they can almost see it. So that's a really good point. Like, we'll have to like get into how that shifted after the first one closed. Cause I've seen like a big difference myself once you like have a proof of concept.
Definitely. Like, they're like, okay, this is the first time you've ever done something like this. Like, yes, it is, but we're working with a coach who's had this much experience. And, one of my aunts who invested with us thought it was like a pyramid scheme. Like, like legit was like, is this a pyramid scheme? And I'm like, no, like it's definitely not, but just
it's like trying to make that pitch without having the red flags come, the red flags go up. I think a good talking point to that is like leverage the team, right? It's your coach, your mentor who has the experience. Like, I'm the young, hungry one doing all the work. And then here's the experience for us to lean on. He's kind of the bumpers on our bowling lane.
Yeah, totally. And we invested heavily in that first deal as well. And then like, even for the subsequent deals, we're putting up all the risk capital. So when people know that, hey, we're investing in it too, we're offering it out to friends and family, like they trust us enough to know that they're going to wire us their money and we're going to head to Mexico or something like that, that we know what we're doing. Right. And I think they know like how my husband and I have progressed in our careers. And so we really leverage that, and 7 years of being a nurse, I quickly moved into leadership and administration. I've kind of climbed the corporate ladder within the healthcare world and proven myself in my current profession. And so has my husband, and they just, they know we're good parents, they know we're good people. And so just having that personal brand, kind of going back on that and how you portray yourself to everyone, it's so influential to every conversation you have with investors moving forward.
That is, I think, huge and probably overlooked, is like what you're saying about you're already doing really well in your W-2 career, like progressing up the ladder there, and you can leverage that experience, how you've built teams, how you've managed people, how you've led people, like those skills absolutely translate into business and everything. So by having that experience to show people, man, it's all like, people want to say, I have this many units. Well, when you're starting out, you probably don't have that many units. You probably don't have a big real estate track record, but what else in your life have you excelled at to bring into this? So I think, bringing that's really good. Cool. So back to this, the first 12 unit, you talked about your husband doing the asset management. So did you guys get third party management since it's, in a different state?
Yes, we did. And that was huge for us, vetting out different property management teams. That's one of our biggest team players, that and our contractors, because we were doing some value add components to this deal and our next deal as well. And developing those relationships, having interview questions. We just went in the market, Googled different property managers. We kind of had our basic questions of like, how many years experience? Do you have experience raising rents with value add, overseeing renovation? How many units do you currently manage? What's your experience with raising rents? Because this first deal we did, rents were 25% below market. So we wanted to make sure we were vetting out our business plan, having our property manager look at our numbers and say, hey, we're expecting to raise rents this much every year. Is that something you're going to be able to do? Is that feasible for this market? And working with a great property manager. The lady we went with for this, she has 20 plus years experience in the market. She's born and raised there. She knows what rents are. She knew the building when we called her, exactly what building we were talking about and the breakdown of it. And having that strong team, because they're carrying out your business plan day in and day out. And then if you have two people who are kind of like equally experienced when it comes to that, then choosing someone whose like personality matches with yours, because you're going to be having like, my husband has like almost weekly conversations with her, very regular, especially as we're pushing out the value add component of our plan. And so having someone that you have at least a good, well working relationship with, because you're dealing with them for the next 3-5 years or however long your investment plan is very important.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So basically to sum that up, it's like find the right people in the market, because, oftentimes like multifamily investing, it's like a business. It doesn't have to be, where you are, because you find the right people to manage that. Even if you self-manage, you find like the right people on the ground. But if you get like the wrong property manager, they can definitely sink your investment. So that's one you definitely want to spend time on. And then finding your contractors, you have your broker and lender too in that market. So once you have those pieces, you can be successful in the deal. And it sounds like you found all those pieces on this one, and that's why it worked out. From that deal, where did you go from there after you closed that first one and started operating?
Yeah, well, like you were just saying, it was a perfect transition of like, once you build that team and already have it up and running, those next deals come so fast because you already have your lender all lined up. You have a property manager, you have the broker who now sees that you've done your first deal. Like, we kind of played it up enough with this broker. He was a young guy too. And so he had no idea this was our first multifamily deal until after we closed on it, and kind of like shared that with him. And he was like, whoa, I had no idea. Like, but he never asked. Yeah. And he is super young, hungry, motivated. He's with Marcus and Millichap. So he is like, he saw we did that first deal, and he knows what we're looking for.
And you spoke his language. So he was just like, all right, their experience, they got it.
Yeah, we spoke the same language for sure. And so he was sending us really good deals afterwards. And then, honestly, like months after we closed that first deal, we're already under contract for our second one. And we're kind of doing the stack method with it. We went from 12 units up to 24 units and kind of taking baby steps that way. And I know a lot of operators I've talked to are like, what are you doing? You need to be going 50 to 100. Like, you need to be going bigger, faster. But for us, this is kind of
perfect. You really don't. Yeah. Let's talk about that, because man, it's like, it's preached so much in all these coaching programs. But I had a guy on the show, I think maybe a month and a half ago now, but We'll have to put it in the show notes. But David, he focuses on like mid-sized multifamily, like 10 to 30 units because there's no competition. Are you seeing, or less, not no competition, but less competition from like your, regular single family investors. And then the people who's like 50 units or bigger, you have to have on-site management. Well, the numbers are really good here if you find the right deal.
Yes. A huge tip that I've learned and I'm still kind of struggling with in real estate world is take advice with a grain of salt. Because I remember when we bought our first single family homes, they were new build townhomes over in Georgia. And I was on a mastermind call and kind of telling people what I was doing. And they're like, that's a horrible investment. They're probably not even building it. That's a waste of money. You're not going to get good returns on it. Like there was a guy on the call, like blasting me. And I got off the call literally like second guessing the investment. Like, am I not making the right choice? And it ended up being an amazing investment. But like, even now, I went to a multifamily conference a few weeks ago and I was talking to this guy. He's been in the industry for like 30 years. I was telling him about my brand, how I just launched it a few months ago and how my goal is to do 100 podcasts this year. He's like, you have such a good brand going. You're wasting your time with these podcast episodes. You need to stop doing that. And I was just like, why? Like I'm getting such good traction from the podcast episodes. I love it. I love connecting with other operators.
The guy that's not doing podcast episodes. So to him, it seems like, why would you waste your time? So that's a really good point. Like take the advice with a grain of salt.
Yes. There are people making all sorts of things work, like going back into like the 50 unit and smaller size multifamilies. Like that doesn't work for everyone, but like there are different niches for everyone. Like there's people doing Airbnbs and killing it. There are people, believe it or not, investing in California where people say, do not invest. And I know people investing here in LA that are killing it. So, I mean, you have to stay true to yourself and kind of like your goals of what you want to do. And take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different like little niches, even within like multifamily. Like I'm doing a smaller multifamily, it's 8 units. They're all going to be short-term rentals. That's going to freaking kill it. Like that's going to produce like what a property 3 or 4 times its size would just as a normal long-term rental. So like, don't think you have to fit in this box necessarily. Like just analyze, like knowing your market, like for you, Savannah, up in there in Oregon, you said it's a really strong rental market. Like what works there might not work in downtown LA and what works there might not work where I'm at in Panama City. So it's like finding your market, analyzing, look at the numbers, what works well. Like some people it's renting single family homes out by the room. Some people do really well with that. So that's really good. But I like how you brought up like finding that young, hungry broker and that they're the ones that want to do the deals. One of my good friends got an 18 unit that way and from this young, hungry broker and structured it to where he got like another equity position in another deal. And then the broker put his commission in equity in another deal. So it was like a 3-deal triad because this guy was just like trying to do deals. And I was talking to my friend. He's like, man, this broker is awesome. He just wants to do deals. He's like, I've never seen anything like it. He's like, we're doing these 3 deals. And my payoff now is going to be like twice as much if I just got the 118 unit. So that's really cool. It's just finding those right people. So
I love it.
Yeah. So if you could just after this, just text me your broker's number and I'll just. Yeah. So, all right. What I want to talk about now is you're talking about doing that stack method, which is, just building up, going from like the 12 to 24. Next is the 48 and could be more, could be less, whatever, but you keep scaling up. So is that the focus for you guys? Are you planning on staying in this, mid-size range in that one market, or kind of what's next for you and your husband on your journey?
Yeah. That honestly wasn't a plan of ours to do the stack method. It really just kind of worked out that way because it was the next really good, strong value add deal in the same market. So we loved it. We try to stay focused on what we're doing with the value add multifamily syndications. We kind of have our specific parameters in each market that we're investing in. And for us, that really allows us to just be kind of focused on what kind of deals we're getting, not wasting our brokers' times, getting specific on doing the underwriting. And although we're focused, we are still like very open to different opportunities out there. I mean, I talk to operators all the time just because I'm very heavily involved with networking within real estate, and people, I love hearing about like what other people are doing and if we could potentially collab and join team and join efforts to like get these deals done. And I love working with like like-minded people. I definitely vibe more with other operators out there. And when I kind of hear what they're doing, I'd be like, oh, it'd be cool to kind of do a deal together and take down a deal together. I mean, honestly, it really becomes so fun as you start doing it, because you take down these deals, you're helping other investors by getting them in the deals through the syndications. And it's mutually beneficial relationships all around. And so, yeah, we're specific, but open to new opportunities.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you and your husband, the syndication group, have an open relationship. We get it.
Exactly. Something
no,
like
that. I think that's cool. You don't want to, you want to have that focus, but not pigeonhole yourself out of opportunities. Right. So, staying open. And I think like when you're talking about that, like having that like open kind of growth mindset, like it becomes fun, because it's like this big puzzle of how you like ultimately get to your goals. And like, yes, you're on this path, but it's fluid, right? It's not, we have to get, 15 different 12 units and they all have to be, meet the same criteria. So that's really cool. I think that you guys, and as you analyze more deals, right, it's like filling up. If you just think about it as like a big funnel, just fill the top of your funnel with opportunities, and then you get to pick the best ones and see which ones fit for you. So, I mean, you can say no, but if it works out, then that's awesome too.
Yeah.
That's really cool. All right. So the last question I have before we transition to the last segment, the Fortune 5, I just want to ask, like, what tip would you give to the aspiring syndicator that wants to do something similar to what you and your husband have been able to do?
I would say network. If there is someone out there that you follow on social media who's doing what you want to be doing in a market you're investing in, doing the deals you want to do, I would reach out to them, ask them how they're doing it, ask them if you could have coffee with them and kind of see what they're doing. I just had a call yesterday with an ER doctor who's trying to get into multifamily, and he was meeting with coffee with this big apartment guy in his local town in Louisiana. And he was like, as an operator, what is someone you could ask? So what is something that someone could ask you to like potentially mentor with you? And I was like, my biggest pain point. Like if you ask anyone their biggest pain point, that all of us are struggling with like one thing in our business. And if someone can bring that opportunity and kind of help with that, I mean, that's huge. So connecting with other people is big as a newbie.
Yeah, that's really good. And then if you're, that person that has the time, can put the effort in, find what that pain point is for other people and that are doing what you want to do, and try to be their solution. So that's a really, really awesome tip. I love that strategy. All right, cool. Let's transition to the
Fortune 5.
All right, here we go. Fortune 5 question 1. So Savannah, what's the biggest thing that has contributed to your success?
Getting specific on my goals, writing them down, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, where you want to be, getting specific on that. It'll really lay out a blueprint to what actions you need to take to get there.
Yeah, that's good. I like that quote. What is it? If you don't know where you're going, any path will get you there. Yes. So it's like knowing where you want to go, there's, find the path that's going to get you there. Super good tip. Next question. What's your biggest mistake so far that's turned into a learning lesson? Kind
of like I mentioned before, taking other people's advice for full value and thinking that there's one right way to do things. I mean, you get into the space and assume that there's like one path to do it. But the amazing thing about real estate is like, there's so much creativity involved in it, which I never knew, but you can be so creative with these deals and know that because someone looks at a deal and they don't like it and they think it's a bad deal, doesn't mean it's a bad deal. You can come at it with a new set of eyes, apply a new business strategy, and make it work.
Yeah. Or just by like structuring the deal. That was what I find really fun in real estate is that you can structure deals completely differently. Like you could do lease options, you could do seller financing, you could do wraps or loan assumptions. Like there's so many different ways to structure deals that can make it work for you, where otherwise the numbers wouldn't work. So that's a really good tip too. And by not knowing those, it's like, you can't, it's like a job that you can't do unless you have the right tools. So like by just learning and educating and doing deals, taking action, it's like adding tools to that tool belt and allowing you to do those jobs. So that's really good. Cool. What is your favorite book that you'd recommend to someone starting out?
I'm going to say Financial Freedom Through Real Estate Investing, especially if you're wanting to get into multifamily. That was the book that we read that switched us over from single family to multifamily, and being able to look at realistically what it takes to take down multifamily deals. It was a good mindset shift.
Is that the Michael Blanc book?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was good. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it has like maybe it's at the end or maybe it's how it's written. It's like what to do if you're starting out and you actually take action, like do it by week, like, first on this week, focus on this. And, when you actually get the deal, then do the LLC. So it kind of gives you that actionable plan. Mm-hmm. So that's good too. Here you go. What do you like to do outside of real estate? What do you and the family like doing outside of closing deals?
Going to the beach. We're going to head there after I wrap up this podcast. It's just something we love about LA, and our daughters are both water signs. They love the beach. So it's something we can just go out and hang out.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I think so. Today's like a beautiful day in Florida. It's like 80 and sunny. We're either going to head to the springs, the clear freshwater springs, or to the beach. I think we might do both. So we got that luxury in Florida. That's awesome. But love that. So Savannah, last question. Where can people find out more about you and connect with you?
Yes, the Net Worth Nurse. So you can find me under the Net Worth Nurse on all social media handles. So LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. That's also my website. My email, savannah@thenetworthnurse.com. I love connecting with other people. If you're even remotely interested in anything I've said, please reach out to me. I'd love to chat.
I love that. If you had any interest at all, hit Savannah up. That's really good. I think just by the name Net Worth Nurse, this is going to take off. Like, it's just fun to say. So I love it. Love the brand. You provide really good value within it. So thank you for that. And thanks for coming on the show and sharing with everybody. This has been awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Blake.
All right. Thanks, Savannah. Have a good one. Hey, thanks for listening. If you like the show, if you found value in it, please go to iTunes and leave a rating and review. And if you want to check out more on your multifamily journey, go to multifamilyjourney.com, where you can get free resources to start your journey and figure out your path. That's multifamilyjourney.com. But more importantly, go take action today towards your financial future. See you next time.